Hey, everybody. Welcome to Drive Facebook Live. I'm Tony Whistler, and this is my friend Carla Weiss. Hi, Carla. How you doing?
Hi, Tony. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. We have a great guest today. Today on the show, we have Kris
Yes, we do.
Bullinger from Olympic Truck Service. Hey, Kris, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
I always love having you on. I'm on the show.
Thanks.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about your shop. We're going to talk about your role in it. We're going to talk a little bit about leadership today, some other fun stuff. But before we get rolling, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about you and your shop and where it's at and just, the general lay of the land there.
Sure. So we have, and I say we, I mean my husband Dan and I have a lot of things going on. So we have our main truck repair shop. So we work on heavy and medium duty diesel. Um, Sometimes if there's an F-350 or something that's part of a fleet that we work on, we'll go ahead and work on that as well, but that's typically like the smallest that we do. We have another location here also in the same industrial park that we work on like semi trailers or really any type of trailers. They do doors, trailer reskinning, landing legs, basically anything you can do on a semi. And then also, but wait, there's more. We have we
You're
have
like the Sham Wow guy.
I am. I feel like that. We have two locations of DPF alternatives, one here in the Olympia area and then one down in Portland, Oregon. So, and basically, like we clean diesel particulate filters, we repair them, we can replace them. Pretty much anything we can do with those. And that's mainly where Dan works, my husband. So, we are located in Tumwater or Olympia, Washington. So if you picture Washington in your head, there's like the little arm that goes to the side, and we're at the very bottom of the Puget Sound. So,
Oh, nice. And how close are you to the water?
not far. Maybe we're about a mile from the sound. Um, it kind of like, lingers along. There's a lot of rivers and stuff here that run into it. So,
Now, are there beaches like in Southern California or
absolutely not. No.
On the
So
coast, though.
where the Puget Sound comes by where we are, it's called Mud Bay. And so when the tide is out, it stinks and there is mud. Like like when we were kids, you go out and you wear your rubber boots because there's like oyster shells in it and you'll sink and you could like lose a boot. Like a whole boot would just like sink in there and then it is gone and then you end up, you get in trouble by your mom because you only have one boot or flip-flop or whatever you tried to wear in there. So it
Yeah.
is not like a California beach. Um, the beach, like the coast beach where like the actual ocean is typically gray and cold. There's a lot of rocks and it does not
Yeah.
have fluffy sand. It's really gray there. Like the sand is gray, the water looks gray, and the sky is gray. So
Yeah, there you go.
if you're
Yeah.
lucky, if you're maybe lucky, you'll get a beautiful day out there, but you have to keep your fingers crossed.
So I imagine that there's people that go out there and they're looking for, you said oysters. So you're hunting for oysters, but you could also on as a side gig be hunting for like different types of shoes.
Possibly, yeah. Sometimes they
Get
wash up.
lost.
You get a
Haven't you
collection.
seen that on the
I-
Canadian coast where they have this is gross. I'm sorry to tell this on your show. Like up by Vancouver where they find like the boot with the foot in it and they are like that was like a thing for a while in like the 90s and early 2000s. They kept finding those. But that's not quite by us. That's a few hours north. So,
That's good.
That's nice.
yeah.
That's nice.
There's
Yeah.
a
So
nice contrast though with the beach and the trees, the water and the
Yes.
trees and the rocks. It makes a really nice landscape there.
It's
yeah,
pretty.
Yeah, yeah,
It's beautiful.
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. So what is your role exactly in the business?
My role. So, I always tease Dan that like I'm his boss and he's my boss, but he doesn't work here. So I run Both. I run both of our truck shops, truck and trailer shop. Um, we have a general manager, but I do all of like the human resources, marketing. Um, I just kind of keep an eye on things like the workflow and make sure everything is running smoothly. I don't have any experience working on trucks or trailers, but I do bring a certain level. I have like a lot of management experience, so I
Mhm.
bring a certain level of like, this is a word I love, like pragmatism, what's like very like realistic. I'm like, okay, you guys are in the weeds about this. It seems like we could just like back up a little bit and like, keep going through the workflow and everything will be fine. Or like if they can't find a part for something, I'm like, have we, if it's like 2 weeks out, I'm like, why? Like, just kind of asking those questions that maybe nobody thought of. And it's just because, they get a little bit of tunnel vision. So just a different perspective is important to have. And
That's great.
then I fired Dan from hiring people. So I do HR for our DPF shops also. Um, and that seems to work well for us. We're a good team together. Um, I give Dan a hard time, but there's a lot of things that I struggle with. Um, so, but I tease him about that because his hires are all real bad. And
That's funny. Sometimes, people, even if they're, they just hire a certain kind of person and you
he's
go,
just too nice. And so like there's like all these red flags all over and he's like, "Oh, I bet they didn't mean that." I'm like, "I'm pretty sure they did." But like I said, he's good at a lot of other things. Like he really is. So
You mean like they had a bloody knife and he's like, oh, it's just a kid's
it's
play.
just
No,
a
it
I thought it was a
doesn't.
boot with a foot in it.
yeah,
And
I
they
thought it was a
was
boot.
in the back seat. They're like, I noticed that a boot with a foot in it in the back seat. Ugh.
That's
Oh.
you gotta keep that out of
I'm sorry, Tony.
I'm never gonna get that out of my mind now.
Google it. There's a lot of articles.
Really,
So
this is the come to Vancouver, Washington, and find a boot.
It's Vancouver, Canada.
Oh, it is Vancouver, Canada. It's not Vancouver,
Yeah.
Washington. Okay, good.
I'm not aware of any of that in Vancouver, Washington, but
my goodness. So one of the things that I know about you is you're very good at the training process or the discipline process. Tell us about that.
so I come from like a corporate background. I worked for a compliance consulting company before I started working at the shop. And we worked for financial institutions, mostly credit unions. And credit unions have a really good like attitude towards employees. Like they really want to be there for their employees. And so I've kind of taken the discipline process that I've always had used for me, or like I've had for my employees there and kind of brought it here, which is a little bit weird because um I feel like people that own truck shops or manage truck shops tend to just fire people for different reasons. It's like the knee-jerk reaction, and I try really hard to find out what's going on before I make a big decision that I might regret like an hour later. So typically what I will do, and like John handles the small stuff, he's our general manager. So like if somebody is causing problems out in the shop, he will talk to them about it and see if we can just resolve it with a quick conversation or maybe a little bit longer conversation. And I'm typically not involved with those types of things. Um, if I have to get involved, I always tease that nobody is going to end up happy. If I have to get involved because it will get resolved one way or another. And so, and not that I'm like mean and going to fire them, but we're going to talk about it and people don't like to talk about those types of things. And then we're going to write it all down. And then, so basically I'll talk with the person or the employee and John about kind of what's going on, and then let them know that the next step for them, and these are for small issues, these are not for like big issues, but this is for like smaller stuff. We put them on, it's called a performance improvement plan. So kind of like get their perspective on like what's going on and how they intend to fix it. That way I'm not, and John's not responsible for, making sure we're not policing them on a day-to-day basis. It gives them the opportunity to police themselves. So, they've got a copy of it, we've got a copy of it, so everybody knows what the expectations are going forward and what the consequences are for not keeping up with what we've written down. And John and I write it with the employee. So we've all agreed to these things. And if they choose not to do those things, then they know what the consequence is going to be. And that's kind of where like nobody's happy is comes with me, because I never threaten something that I don't plan on following through on in any part of my life. So if I say, if this continues, like if we can't follow this performance improvement plan, then you're going to be sent home for 2 days or your job's going to be terminated, and you have to follow through on that. So I don't ever, I'm not like, you're going to be fired and then not do it. So if they don't follow through with that, then their employment's terminated. I don't keep people 2 weeks, so they would have to have their plan for their tools to get picked up in the next day or so, and then they are gone.
Well, I
So,
assume
but
you
I
haven't
feel
had to do
like,
that very often.
what was that?
I assume you haven't had to go to that point very often.
No, we don't have a ton of turnover, luckily. I say that, and then like this week has been crazy tragic, not tragic, but like we had one employee quit who's worked for us for a couple of years, and did not necessarily because of anything wrong. He had moved like an hour away, and the commute was not ideal. And then we had a young kid who's worked here about 6 months, and he wanted, it finally is summer here in the Pacific Northwest, and he wanted to go to the river with his friends and didn't want to work at any job. So he quit with no notice. It's like,
Going to the
Carla,
river.
are you sure now I'm qualified to talk about leadership? Because things are just like crumbling in front of me. And we had had a couple of conversations with him about the younger kid about different things like professionalism, showing up on time, what it means to like when you clock on to a job, and like how a job is complete. And so, we've had, those are the types of people that you have to have like ongoing conversations with, because he's a kid, he doesn't know. And by kid, I mean he's 18 years old. So he doesn't
Yeah, that's young.
necessarily know like how to define certain things. Like, okay, how am I done with the job? Like, you don't come in and ask for more work if the hood is still up on the truck you're working on and the area is not cleaned up. Like, you're not done. Like, you may be done like working, but you're not done. Like, you can't pull another truck into that bay because the other one is still there. So those are the types of conversations that we have before we go to like a performance improvement plan. And if those types of things would have kept going on, we probably would have got there eventually. But just having like those ongoing small like training conversations about professionalism and what goes with being like a professional diesel technician or professional diesel mechanic is part of being a leader in your shop. And it's a different conversation with someone who is 35 and has been in the industry for 10 or 15 years, or older, that's been there longer. Like, they are a professional already and they know what they need to do. So those all look different, and there's certain things, for example, dishonesty, that I do not do a performance improvement plan for, because that is not something that I feel like you can train someone. That's just kind of a rotten thing, and if they lie to me, then I just will fire them.
Right. Yeah, you
sounds a
can't
little
train in
cheated,
honesty.
but it's dumb. And like, you don't really get in trouble a lot around here if you break something just tell John it's broken. We'll fix it or replace it, and we'll move on. So
Yeah.
Well,
Well, it sounds like you have some things really codified, and I think that's part of what leadership is. Also, I couldn't help but notice that you had said that you have you understand that the person you're talking that's in front of you, like, and their experience and their knowledge and their understanding. That again is another skill that good leaders have that people that aren't necessarily great leaders don't really always understand. I once had a guy who told me, he goes, well, I believe in being fair. I treat everybody the same. And I said, those two things don't go together. Right? You're not being fair if you're treating everybody the same. You have to treat everybody how they how you're supposed to based on what they're
people
doing.
need different things.
That's
Like,
right.
if someone has 3 kids and have a wife at home, like, they need flexibility and time off. Like, that's what they need, and that's what they are going to ask for. And so it's okay to be understanding in those situations, to a point. Always, you don't want to let the shop light on fire because nobody's ever there because they're at their kids' football games. But also, like, if someone needs something else, like, sometimes people need help financially. And obviously I'm not necessarily willing to, like, give money, but I'm willing to give help. As far as, like, um what have I done before? Oh, just, like, helping them set a budget, or, like, things like that for, like, the younger techs. Um just to kind of get them on the right track. And it's up to them, obviously, to do whatever they need to do, but um a little bit of help along the way is always good. And I make sure when we hire that we hire people that we like. I know that that sounds really like a silly thing to say, but it makes a big difference. Like, if you like everyone who works for you, you're not like, oh, that guy, you know.
Yeah.
So
that guy
that
again.
guy,
No,
he's
I
the
think it's
worst.
important. I think it's important. It's part of the
It's
fit.
harder to, like, it's harder to keep a good face when someone's talking to you when you don't like them. And I know that sounds silly, but it is. So
It
You
does fit. It has that influence. Yeah.
yeah.
do you actually have like any structure in place for like team meetings or how you communicate to the group that way? Is there anything like that you have in place?
So John meets with everybody in the morning just to kind of go over what we have coming into the shop. I don't meet with everybody that often. When they start, everybody, I go over, like, all of kind of, like, the expectations, the disciplinary, like, how that goes, um, all of the HR stuff. That way I know that they've heard it directly from me, so they have the expectations, and it is written out in our employee handbook. Not that anyone, I don't, like, expect them to go read that, but it's there if they want to. So I don't do a lot of team meetings. If there's a few things that, like, I need to address to everybody, then I will. Like, if everybody is just kind of, like, having the same issue with something, then a lot of times I'll ask for feedback, on, like, if something's not working, or something, like, some process isn't working, and, like, it's come to my attention enough that, we just need to talk to everybody about it. I always tell them I am willing to listen to everyone. I may not take any of your advice, or I may take someone's advice, but I do want to hear it. Like, I want to hear what everybody thinks and has to say, because it might be something that, like, Dan or I have not thought of before. Because sometimes, like I said, you get, like, they get in their own head, we get in ours, and so fresh perspective is always great.
That's cool.
Very cool. Yeah, I think it's
So
time
you
for a
have,
break.
well, you have a couple of guys watching. You have Danny Montana and
Nice.
Martin Granham,
Mobile Mark.
Mobile Mark.
Yep. And we should do a little station break too, Carly. You want to do that now?
Sure, we'll do a station break. Well, first of all, we have to talk about the expo. Tony, you got to make me practice this. The expo, which is going to be September 24th to 26th in Las Vegas. We need you to register soon because we're making all the plans and all the food and all the stuff, and I'm sure you want to eat.
That's the reason to fly to Vegas.
And have a room. Anyway, there's lots of things happening. We have the award night, we have the party night, and the theme is going to be your sports team, so you get to, bring your colors. And of course, we're going to have workshops. We're going to have live workshops
Absolutely.
too, which all of you who like live workshops, this is your opportunity. This is your chance.
We have 4 master workshops going that'll start on Tuesday prior to the expo. You can see the expo starts on Thursday. We'll have inside the Westgate Hotel, we'll have 4 workshops going Tuesday and Wednesday. And so if you've been longing for an in-person workshop, this is your shot. You can come. We have 4 of them. If you're a client, just go look at the client portal and you can see what they are. And they're actually new workshops as well. One of them is going to be in Spanish, and 3 of them will be in English. And they're new workshops too. So you've never seen them before. It'll be fun.
Yes, you get to talk and exchange ideas and do wild things and all that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then we have a webinar coming on July 15th. It's called The Workflow That Works. And that is by Jim Saley and I'm sorry, but Dave's Jim Saley and David Saline.
Yeah.
For a moment there, I'm crossing the names, but I was not.
Yeah.
Jim Saley and David Saline, and it's how smart processes boost your speed and your profit. So if you're having any issues with speed, profit, or efficiency, that's the webinar. It's Wednesday, July 15 at 10 a.m. Pacific or 1 p.m. Eastern.
And you can
know
get
which
to
side of the country you are.
Yeah, and you can get to it from the driveshops.com website. It'll be on there. And if you're a client, you can find it on inside the apps. So anyway, that's great. Thank you, Carla.
Well, we're still missing next Friday. Next Friday, we're having Wade from Monaco Motors. He's going to be doing a tour of his shop. And I tell you, the floors in the new extension that he did, you can eat out of those floors. I would like to have those floors in my house. That's how good those are.
Nice.
Anyway, and he's going to have Paco as a guest.
Yes. And anybody that people I'm sure are on the edge of their seat, like, who's Paco and why is he going to be on the show? Who is Paco?
Paco is Wade's boss.
That's
the
right.
Parrot.
He's a parrot.
He's a parrot. He's Wade's boss. He always goes, he sends any problem customers, he sends them to Paco.
That's right. And I think, excuse me, and I think Paco is like 35 years old or something. Wade will tell us.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
He's seasoned.
And he's seasoned. Lots of experience dealing with bad customers, mean customers. Anyway, it'll be a great show. So that's next Friday. Same time here in Facebook. All right, back over to you.
Thank you. That was a great little commercial break. Speaking of the expo, Kris will be there. You're going to be at the expo because you're going to be doing a presentation for us while you're there. So that'll be fun.
I am.
That'll be great. So let me ask you this. When was the last expo that you attended?
We were there last year.
Nice. So any fun stuff you want to tell the world about the expo? Because I'm a big expo fan. I love it. And so tell us a little bit about your experiences at the expo last year.
So Dan and I always have a lot of fun. It's great to get to see everyone since most of the classes are on Zoom now. We actually were in like the last class that was taught before COVID shut everything down in Monrovia, and we were like
Mhm.
joking about it because it was in February of 2020.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Um, but so yeah, we've only missed one in the last little while because I was sick, but our favorite thing I'd have to say is the classes, seeing people that we haven't seen in a while and meeting new people. So if you see me at the expo, please say hello. Um and I really like sitting by the Westgate pool. I would never miss a class for that ever. But it's
I believe you.
but that's actually my favorite thing to do at the expo. Besides, actually no, and I love, are they bringing back the vendor fair, like the, what is that?
Trade floor. No,
Trade
we
floor.
won't have a trade floor this year.
Oh, sad.
Right.
I do like the trade floor when it's there. So, I like the awards ceremony too. It's really fun to see everybody, in their fancy clothes. It's good food and getting their awards because it's such, people work so hard to, keep their shops up and running and like do extra things to earn those awards, and it's cool to see everybody and what that means to them.
Yeah, that's always great. I mean, it really can tear you up too. Some of the stories
Yeah.
you hear. It's really good. Yeah.
True.
Any other thoughts, Carla?
Well, I just want to say Dennis Mallow is watching.
Oh yeah. Say hi to Dennis, everybody.
Hi, Dennis.
And then I had one other question for you.
Sure.
Just to kind of get a little bit clearer idea of what a DPF actually is for people who don't own big giant semi trucks. Like, what is this component, and like, what is it exactly all about?
So it DPF is the acronym for diesel particulate filter, and they are actually on all diesel vehicles 2007 or newer. It's basically what the diesel industry, their answer to the EPA, like clean air regulations. And I know that there was a lot of talk like earlier this year and last year about those being rolled back, and they were not rolled back. Nothing actually like really changed with them. They decided they were gonna be a little bit more lax on like policing them, because sometimes people will delete, they call it deleting their truck or whatever. So it kind of like they remove that and it bypasses the DPF. And don't do that
Now,
in
is that
California.
illegal?
It's not um right now. But I've heard that they're fining people less for it, but the fines for it if you get caught and they decide to prosecute you are quite large. So
No.
um this is more one of those things like Dan knows all about. But instead of replacing them, the DPF alternatives, we clean them and they can be repaired, a lot of them. So there's like a core that has basically the filter part that can be taken out and we can put a new core in it. And that saves customers a lot of money. So it's kind of a cool process. Um, if you see my husband or me at the expo, Dan would be happy to tell you all the details about it. That is something that he understands like keenly, and I am a little bit less knowledgeable on that topic. So,
Right.
um,
Well,
that's a
that was a
cool,
pretty
it's really cool though.
that
We
was
have
a
like
pretty
an
thorough answer.
ultrasonic tank that you like drop it into and it like cleans all the stuff out, and then they bake it overnight, and they usually get, I think, a like 95 to 100% of like the original use of it back. So
So, do you like dual use the oven and you cook those things with and put a dozen cookies in there too, or something like?
it's more like a ceramics kiln, like a really, really big
Hmm.
one.
Nice.
It gets like 1200 degrees, I think, or 800,
would-
I'm
it
not
would,
sure. But
it
I
would
don't think
torture cookies.
I don't think the
So you can make a
cookies.
pot. You can make a pot. You can make a little like or a coffee cup while you're a
I
ceramic
mean,
coffee
Yeah.
cup.
you'd have to ask Dan. I don't know the answer to that.
I get it. So we're we're up against it. So any final thoughts from anybody before we call it a day?
I would just say make sure that you have like, is this my Dan? Hi Dan.
There he
Says
is.
say hi to
Jimmy
Dan
and
that Dan
Dan
is
are
watching.
watching. We don't know
Yeah,
which Dan, any Dan. Oh yeah, it
Oh,
is
it
your
is my
Dan.
Dan.
your Dan is
He's tuned
watching.
in. Dan, I told them people if they had questions about DPF alternatives that they should come find you at the expo because you're the real expert and I know less. But I would just encourage everyone to come to the expo. It's a lot of fun and you meet a lot of people that have the same I know it sounds like fun, like the same problems as you, but like the same issues, but also the same like victories and wins as you do. So like, when you figure something out that you've had a problem with for a long time, like someone else may need to hear that. So, like it's something that they've been struggling with for a long time. Maybe you've been struggling with, like what kind of leader you want to be or what kind of process you want in place for like employee like discipline or whatever. That's something that a lot of people struggle with. And if you have successes in that area, it's so awesome to hear what other people are doing and you can take that back to your shop. And it's not even from just like the classes, just like chatting with people at all the different events. You get a little notepad and the thing, and I usually just write stuff down and then I go and kind of like do a little bit of research and I'd be like, oh, that's really cool. I can use that. Or yeah, I don't think that'll exactly work here, but maybe something else. So
Very cool.
That's cool.
Very nice. Okay, so this is the one of the fastest 30 minutes we've spent.
I
That
know.
went really quick.
I talk
know.
a lot. It's fine.
No, it's no problem. It was wonderful to have you on the
That's
show.
great.
And you know what? We will see everybody next Friday. So see you next Friday. Couldn't make the live show? Subscribe to the Drive YouTube channel and watch full episodes, shop tours, workshops, and industry conversations anytime.